So you should have out the box thing that you copied last week. Okay, compass, protractor, and something to write with. Did everybody get one of these sheets? You did get one. This one. Anybody else? Okay, so these were supposed to be photocopied where the back side was blank, and I didn't realize that they weren't, so that's what this is for. We're going to, after we practice the steps, you're actually going to try it all in one drawing. That's what this is for. So just leave this off the blank sheet off to the side, okay? Okay, so this section really is not about whether or not you can draw angles with a protractor or draw a segment with a protractor. It's learning how to use the compass, okay? So yes, I know drawing a segment would probably be easier just to use the straight edge of a protractor and draw a line and measure it. But again, this is learning how to use the compass. So I will, when we're doing these, I will check. I mean, it's pretty obvious which ones you use a protractor for and which ones you're going to use a compass for, because it's going to have all kinds of different markings on it, okay? So make sure you're learning how to use this, okay? When it comes time to the test time, I will provide a straight edge, okay, and a compass for you just in case your compass is like falling apart and getting loose and stuff like that, so that you get those exact drawings. Okay, so starting off, yeah.
Can I borrow your compass?
That one that's on the, yeah, you can borrow it. Yeah. Okay, so starting off on the first one, it says draw a ray with an endpoint of C. Okay, so we're trying to recreate this segment. Okay, so we want to draw a ray that appears to look longer than the original. Okay, so you're just going to take the straight edge part of your protractor, okay, to draw a ray, and you're going to repeat that in boxes 2 and 3. Okay, so I'm drawing a ray that appears to look longer than my original, and the endpoint is C. Okay, and I'm going to repeat that in boxes 2 and 3. Okay, now something else I need to explain. So what we're doing here is notes for you to be able to follow. It's really hard to like practice something and do it all in one drawing, and then when you go back, you're like, how did I get there? I don't know the steps and the process of how I got to the very end. So that's what these are for. So when you go to do the worksheets this week and you're like, how do I reconstruct an angle? Just seeing a finished angle is not going to help you. So if you know, okay, well, the first thing I need to do is do this. The next step is to do this. So when you go to do this on a worksheet, you're not going to like have individual steps. You're going to put it all together. But seeing it broken apart then helps you know what those steps look like and how to get there. Okay, so that's what this part is about. And then we'll practice just doing it all in one drawing. Okay. Okay, so that first one, we're not doing anything else on that. Okay, so we're going to box 2, and it says open the compass to the length of AB. Okay, so on your compass, one thing you need to know when you start out doing your constructions is that your point and your pencil should be pretty close to lined up. So if you get yours at the beginning of the day and your pencil's like the end of it's all the way up here, you need to like rearrange, okay? So try to get your pencil and your point to be close to, okay? Because it's going to help you with constructions and getting them more exact, okay? So what they're asking us is to measure AB, okay? So point and pencil, it doesn't matter which one's on which, okay? We're using one to measure to the other. So from A to B. Good. Now, practicing holding your compass so that it doesn't move is going to be key for some of you. Some of you, it's pretty hard to move because you actually have to spin and loosen and tighten things. Others of you, at just grabbing it, sometimes it gets floppy, especially the plastic ones that have the little screw things on there. I have a little screwdriver set up here. So the more you use it and open it and shut it to measure things, it's going to get, the little screw thing is going to get loose. Just let me know and we can tighten it up, okay? So keeping that same opening, try not to hang on to your compass with two hands, okay? You only want to either, some of you have a tool thing that's right in the middle up here to hang on to, or just make sure you're just hanging on to like either the pencil or the point, okay? I hang on to the point part, okay? You don't do this because you're gonna end up moving it, okay? So same compass setting that you just measured AB. Now, it doesn't say to do it in this one, but we're going to practice it in 2 spots just because this one's a fairly simple one. We're going to put the point at the end point of the ray, where C is at. And okay, hold on. When I swing this, okay, if I keep my point in one spot, is it going to make a straight line? No, because if I go all the way around, it makes a what? Circle. So we call them arcs, because it doesn't really make a straight segment line that goes through the line. It actually makes a curved line, because these make circles, okay? So you're putting the endpoint on C, and you're going to swing to make an arc that intersects that line, okay? So I'm just swinging, and some of you will move your compass. You're going to learn which works for you and what works for others. Others of you, you'll hang on to it, and you'll move the paper, okay? It's whatever helps you not to move your compass opening, okay? So it makes an arc. Makes a curved line that goes through. So you're going to practice that again in box 3. Okay, so you put the point on C and then swing to make an arc so it goes through the ray. And you should have that in boxes 2 and 3. Okay, we're good? Okay, so now in box 3, it says with the same compass opening, now we put the compass point on C, which we just practiced in box 2. Okay, and it says draw an arc, and that's what anytime I refer to an arc, that's what it's talking about, is the curved line the compass makes that intersects the ray. And then down at the bottom, we're going to label that point of intersection as D. So where the arc intersected the ray, we're going to label it as point D. Okay, now remembering our notation from previous sections, okay, we're going to write AB, which was the original that we measured, is congruent to what? CD, and with congruency, we put a bar up above it. Okay, so on this section, constructions are worth how much? If you can remember from the worksheets we've been doing? 5, good. So constructions will be 5 points, and then if you are told to write statements, then this would be worth 2 points. Okay, so this would be 7 points to reconstruct the segment. Okay, so 5 for the constructions, and then 2 or however many statements you have to write. Okay? All right, so this is what I'm talking about. So we're going to take these steps, and we're going to do it all in one box to recreate EF. Okay? So the first thing is to draw a what? Nope. Array. So we got to draw a ray that appears to look longer than the original. You can label your ray whatever you want to. Okay. So I'm going to call it A for mine. Okay, then I go and I'm going to open my compass setting to the length of what?
EF.
EF. So open from E to F. Good job. Okay, and then my last step would be now to put my points on the endpoint of my ray and do what? Draw an arc so that it goes through the line. Okay, label that arc of intersection, whatever you want to label it. Okay, and then you would write a congruency statement. So EF, segment EF, is congruent to whatever you called your segment. Easy enough so far? Okay, good. Okay, we're going to go to now the second page. It should say constructing congruent angles. the first box should say draw a ray with an endpoint of S. So if by chance, like you wrote this and it doesn't match the title, just cross out the title and relabel it. Okay. So this should be constructing congruent angles. Okay, we good? Okay. So in the first box, it says draw a ray with an endpoint of S, and then we're going to repeat that in all of the boxes. Okay, so we're not doing a segment, so it does not matter the length of it. We're drawing an angle. Okay, so draw a ray with an endpoint of S, and you're going to repeat that in all boxes. So draw an array, endpoint of S, and repeat it in all 4 boxes. Okay, we're good? So our first step in making an angle is to draw a ray. So second step, okay, and notice it has an arrow going back to the original that we're trying to recreate. Okay, so it says with the compass point on point A, we're going to draw an arc that intersects the sides of angle A. Okay, so we're going to do that first before we do the labeling. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the original angle. Okay, you're going to put the point on the vertex, and then just open, it doesn't matter the opening, but just make sure it's open enough so it can swing through the 2 sides of whatever angle you drew on your paper. Okay, so I put the point on A, and I just make sure that when I draw it, it's going to go through the 2 sides of my angle. So I'm going to make an arc so it goes through the 2 rays that make up that angle. Okay, so I put the point on A, and I swung to make an arc so it goes to the 2 sides of the angle that you drew for notes. You good? Okay, so it says to label the intersection points as B and C. And again, you may not have to like do all this labeling. This is just so you have something to refer back to, like where did I label, what did I measure? And so it's not just explaining, it actually has letters to go with it. Okay. Okay, so we labeled those intersection points as B and C. Okay, so it says with the same compass setting, so the one that we just made the arc with, you're going to put the point on S, and you're going to overemphasize the arc because we don't know where the other side is at yet. So we don't want to make it too small, okay? So the measurement that I had that I made for that, okay, I'm going to go to where S is at, the end point of my ray, and I'm going to overemphasize the arc, okay? Overemphasize the arc. And you're going to repeat that in boxes 3 and 4. Okay, so I'm going to say that one more time for those that don't know where this just came from. Okay, so the arc that we made on our original, okay, gave us an opening on our compass. Okay, so I'm keeping that same opening, and I'm going to go to the end point of S, and I'm going to swing to overemphasize that arc, because I don't know where the other side is at yet. Okay, and I'm going to repeat that in boxes 3 and 4. And again, you just practicing which is easier for you to either move the paper or move the compass. Okay, we good? All right, so this next one says, label the point which the arc intersects the ray as R. So where the arc and the ray intersect, we're going to label it as R. And go ahead and label that in box 4 as well. Okay, we're good? So box 4, it says refer back to angle A, so that's our original, and the arc that you made. With the point and pencil, you're going to measure the distance from B to C. Does not matter which one you put on what, okay? But with the point and the pencil, we're going to measure the distance from B to C. Some of you, it might be the same opening you already have. Some of you, it'll change. Okay, so I'm going to measure the distance from B to C, where it crossed at the 2 spots. Okay, good on that? Everybody got that? Okay, so keep that setting, whatever setting that is. Okay, and we're coming back to box 4. Okay, so it says with the point, we already did that. Same compass opening, now you're going to put the point on R, so the point of your compass on R, and you're going to swing the pencil to intersect the arc that is already there. Okay, so I'm putting the point of my compass on R, and I'm going to swing the pencil so it intersects where that arc, that previous overemphasized arc was at. Okay, so I'm repeating that one more time for those that missed that. So I measured from B to C. Okay, then I took that compass setting, and then if you notice, my point is where the arc in the side, okay, where the ray is at. So I'm going to put it at the same spot down here. I don't put it on S, I put it on R. Okay, and then I swing so that it makes kind of like an X. Those 2 arcs cross each other. Okay, they make an intersection. And that's in box 4. Okay, we good? Okay. So now it says, we already did that. Swing pencil to intersect the arc, and now we're going to label that point as T. So the point where the 2 arcs intersect each other, we're going to label it as T. And then right down below it says draw ray ST. So we're just creating the other side of our angle. So line up with S, line up with T. So this was actually one of your questions that was on the test yesterday. Does it really matter the length of the ray that I'm drawing?
No.
No. Because even remember the worksheets when you do them and I said put the protractor over the top of it? It was hard for you to measure it unless you did what? It extended the rays, right? So it doesn't change the angle measurement. The rays don't. And that was one of your questions that was on the test yesterday. Okay, we good? Okay. So now we're going to write our statement down here. So my original angle, I could call it just by the vertex as long as the other one doesn't have the same vertex, okay? Or we can list it with the 3 letters. I'm just going to do the single vertex because we have different vertexes. So I'm going to say angle A is congruent to angle what? TSR or just S. Yep. You can list it with the 3 letters or just with it. As long as the vertexes are not the same, then you can do that. Okay, now we don't have a spot to practice this. So this is where that sheet comes in that I gave you, that blank sheet. Okay, so on that blank sheet, don't do it right in the middle because we're going to actually try 3 other things on there. So don't do it right in the middle. You can do it up here. Okay. I want you to draw some random angle and label the vertex. I don't care if it's acute, obtuse, or a right. Okay, you're just going to draw some random angle on there and label your vertex. Okay, then I want you to quickly just, somebody close by, don't go clear across the room, just somebody close by, I want you to switch that paper with somebody. We're just practicing, this is not a grade check thing, it's just to practice somebody else's drawing. Yeah. Anybody else not get a blank sheet? Okay. Okay, so my plan was you weren't going to look at the directions because it was going to be on the back of it. We were going to flip it over and do this, so you can have your directions off the side. But trying to remember all of our steps. So you have somebody else's. So our first step to recreate their angle is to draw a what? Ray. Okay, so draw a ray. Doesn't matter the length of the ray. Just draw a ray and label your endpoint, whatever letter you want to label. Okay, after after we did that, we went back to their original and did something. You remember what that was? Arc, so it goes through what? Both of the rays. Good, both the sides. Awesome. Okay, so go back to theirs, and it does not matter the opening. Okay, so for some of you, the further your pencil away from the point thing, it's sometimes better. Okay, so put it on the end point. You're going to draw an arc so it intersects the two sides. Okay, now I'm going to go to my ray and do what?
Keep the same opening.
Okay, do the same thing. And we're going to overemphasize it just so, because we don't know where the other side is at, just make sure you overemphasize it where it looks larger than the original angle. Okay, so I had my point done, B, so now I'm going to the end point of my ray, and I'm going to do that same arc. I'm just going to overemphasize it just because I don't know where the other side is at yet. Okay, so the point that I'm at right now is I need to create that other side. So I need to know how far that other side is away. So what did I do back on their original to find out that distance?
Didn't you measure when you put the point for the cross both
Right. Okay. So we measure where the arc crosses both rays. Okay. So put the point on one and the pencil on the other one to measure the distance where the arc crossed. Now this helps you to remember, because this is where people mess up. Okay. And I see it year after year. Is notice where my point is at right now. It's not at the vertex, right? So when you go to your ray, don't put your point at the vertex. Okay. It's at where the arc and the ray cross each other. Okay, so I measured that distance, so now I'm going to mine to recreate it. And I don't want to put the point here. I'm putting the point of the compass there. Okay, so I go down to where my ray is at, where my arc intersects, and then I just swing so that that arc crosses my overemphasized arc that I already had. Okay, so one more time. Went back to the original, measured from side to side where the arc went through. Okay, and then I go to my ray at that same spot where the arc went through, and then I swing the overemphasized arc to make a cross or an intersection of those two arcs. Okay, then my last step is just to line up to make the other side of my angle. So to the vertex and to where the arcs cross each other. And again, it doesn't matter the length of that ray, that just gives you a point to line it up. Okay, we're not going to write congruency statements, we just practice recreating the angle. Okay, good? Okay, hand their paper back to them. Okay, and now we're going to our third paper, which should say constructing the perpendicular bisector. Okay, so it says begin by sketching line L and point Q not on L. Okay, and we need to have it in all the boxes. Now these are notes. These are not, again, when you have it, you're only going to have one and recreate one. We're not going to have to recreate the same thing in all the boxes. So whatever you're drawing as far as a line and where the point is at, just attempt to kind of make them look like they're in the same spot. Doesn't need to be exact or perfect. We'll still make it work. Okay, so I have a line L and a point Q that is not on L. So just some point that is not on the line. Okay, and then try to kind of make it in the same spot in all of your drawings. Close to, anyways. We don't have time to actually measure this out, but. Okay, so recreate that in all four boxes. Okay, we good? Anybody need more time? Okay, so we're not, we just needed to have an original drawing in that first one. So we're going to box 2. So it says, open your compass to a measure that is greater than the distance from point Q to line L. And you're going to keep that opening the same. And we're going to swing the pencil to the left and the right to intersect line L. Okay, so we put our point on Q. And I want to make sure that my pencil goes further than the line. So not right at the line, not short of the line. It has to go beyond the line. Okay, doesn't matter how much, just as long as it's not right at the line or really close to it. Okay, we good? Okay, now again, swinging your pencil or swinging your paper, it doesn't matter. So we're going to make it so it intersects the line in 2 spots. So kind of making like a smiley face looking thing. Okay, so we're swinging it so to the left and to the right so that it intersects the line in 2 spots. Okay, and that's just by making the point on Q and the pencil further than line L. Okay. Keep that same opening and repeat that on your boxes 3 and 4. Okay. So swing it so it crosses in 2 spots. And again, some of you are going to learn sometimes just hanging onto your compass and moving your paper is easier. It's up to you. So boxes 2, 3, and 4 should have that. Okay, we're good? Okay, so going to box 3. So keep that same opening. So if you moved it, you can always go back and like make sure you have that same opening, okay? It says label the 2 new arcs of intersections as S and R. So we're in box 3. So where the arc intersect the line in 2 spots, we're going to label it as S and R, and go ahead and put that in box 4 as well. So S and R. Okay, and it says keeping the same opening. Now you're going to put your point of your compass, okay, the point on S, and you're going to swing a large arc below the line L opposite side of Q. And then we're going to do the same thing for R. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so again, if you accidentally moved it, just check it to make sure that it's the same opening that you did to make that. Okay, so I'm moving my point off of Q, and I'm now moving it to S. Okay, and I'm going to swing below the line opposite side of Q. Okay, on the opposite side. So there's my arc. Okay, and then I'm going to do that same thing to R. So now I'm going to bring that point over to R, and I'm going to swing. Okay, so the 2 arcs that I made from S and R should intersect to make an X down here. So if it doesn't, then that means you need to go back and make it bigger. Okay, so I'm going to practice that same thing in box 4. So if you didn't catch that, watch what I'm doing in box 4, because you're going to do it in 3 and 4. Okay, so whatever arc I made the original one with, I'm keeping that same opening, but now I'm moving the point to S, and I'm swinging so it makes an arc below the line opposite side of Q. Okay, so I swung to make an arc down here for S. Now I move over to R and do the same thing. Okay, so that it crosses below the line. Some of yours might be, because like in last class, those 2 arcs actually met where the original arc was at, like all 3 of them met there. That's fine. Sometimes that'll happen. Not always, obviously. Or above it, depending on how far you went below the line. Okay, we good? Okay, so we're done in that one. We made the arc, so we're going over here. So it says label the intersection of the arcs as point T. Okay, so these right here, the last 2 arcs that I made, I'm going to label that as T. And then we're going to draw a line connecting Q to T. So line or segment really doesn't matter. You're just connecting those 2 points. Okay, so you had a list of vocab words that you were supposed to do. These 2 lines intersected, and they are what to each other? Yes, that's not what I'm looking for, but that is true. They are what to each other? Starts with a P. Perpendicular. What does perpendicular mean? They form.
Like 90 degrees.
There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Perpendicular means they form a 90-degree angle. Okay. So by doing this, and this is your vocab word that was up here, you just had to write the definitions out. Okay. So they are perpendicular to each other. So if you do this right, these should form a 90-degree angle. Okay. Then they should look like 90 degrees. So if you've got a slant to them, you didn't do something right. Like these should wind up being 90 degrees. Okay. So we're writing a new notation. Okay. So we have segment or line. Again, that part doesn't matter. I don't care if you label it a line or a segment because it's between 2 points. So SR is perpendicular to QT, and the notation for perpendicular is an upside down capital T. Okay, upside down capital T. So SR is perpendicular to QT. And again, I don't care if it's a line or a segment. That part I'm not going to be checking, okay? But perpendicular, that's your notation for perpendicular. Okay, so tomorrow when we start a worksheet, we're going to have a worksheet. It'll take us a couple of days to do it because I want you doing it here in class where I can help you. You're going to have one that looks like this, but there's going to be an additional point on that line. And it's going to ask you to create parallel lines as well. Well, all you're doing when you do that is you're just doing the same step for the perpendicular. Okay, you'll just have another point on here. So after you do it for one point, you're going to repeat the process for the other point that's on here. And by doing that, if I have 2 perpendicular lines, those 2 perpendicular lines are now what to each other? Parallel to each other, okay? And you're not going to write this now, I'll remind you tomorrow, but the symbol for parallel looks like absolute value symbols, okay? So like if I had another, and again, don't draw this on your notes, but if I had another line right here and it was called AB, okay? I would say AB is parallel, it looks like 11, so absolute value symbols to QT, okay? And again, I don't care if it's segments or lines up above it. Okay? So you're really not knowing how to make parallel. You're making 2 perpendicular lines. Okay, we are going to practice this. So get your clean sheet paper that I gave you out. Okay? You're going to sketch a line on your paper. And again, we're not going to write the notation, so you don't need to label your line. Okay? And then you're going to put a point that is not on the line someplace. And then switch with somebody. So somebody next to you, switch. Okay, so we're practicing all our 4 steps with this, okay, with whatever they do on theirs, okay. So we don't need to obviously draw the line and put a point not on the line because they did that for you. So your second step was to do what? Make an arc, but like how? Like what do I need? Put the point on the point.
Yeah, and then make the line 2 times.
Make sure your pencil is below the line, right? Can't be above the line because if it makes it above the line, then it's obviously not going to intersect, right? So it needs to be below the line. So make sure your pencil is below the line, doesn't matter how far. Okay, and then you're going to swing so it crosses that line in 2 spots. So swing left, swing right, so it crosses in 2 spots. Okay, now what do I do? Okay, so put 2 points where it intersects at. And then what? Keep the same opening. Good job. Okay, so keep the same opening, and now put your point where it intersected. And then we what? make an arc below, opposite side of where the point is at. Okay? Opposite side of where the point is at. Okay, so I did that with one. So now I go to the other one where the line and the arc intersect with that same opening. And I just make sure it crosses the other arc that I did. So sometimes you'll have to go back and make your arc a little bit bigger. Because sometimes when you open it up, you'll like swing over here, but it doesn't come up further enough, so that when you come over here, it doesn't cross anything. So just go back and overemphasize that arc. Okay, so now we just would connect from the point, the original point, to the last two intersections of those arcs, and then write our notation if we actually label them. Okay. And again, when you connect those, if they're not appearing to look like a 90-degree angle, like say you have a mark that's over here, okay, and then I'm cross, or say like you lined it up with this arc. So say I crossed it and I lined it up with my original arc where they crossed at, that's not 90 degrees. Okay, so make sure you're lining it up properly. Okay.
Wait, so which one's gotta be 90 degrees?
This was my original, sorry.
Oh, okay.
This one was my, I'll make it darker.
So,
That one was my original. I was just saying, sometimes you get confused by which arc is which. And like if it crossed there and you lined it up, that's, if you connected that to that, that's not going to make 90 degrees. Like you have an obtuse angle there.
you want that big line going that way?
Right. So I had one right here. Like if I lined it up with this arc and this arc, it said that was my intersection, and lined it up to there, that's not going to make 90 degrees. So you make sure you're lining it up right. Okay, on our lost sheet. So number 4. Should say constructing the angle bisector. Okay, so we need to do something that's not on here, okay, which is going to take us back to our second worksheet that we had on recreating angles, okay? So in the first box, I want you to create whatever angle you want to create. But let's make it acute. Let's not make it a 90 or obtuse, okay? Just so everybody kind of has the same, similar one, okay? So make an angle in angle 1, or in step 1, whatever one you want, and label the vertex A, just because that's what they asked us to label it. Okay, so we're going to practice what we did on our second worksheet, because we need to have the exact same angle, not just sketches of something similar to it, the exact same angle in all 4 boxes, okay? So by doing that, the first thing we have to do was draw a ray, okay? So in boxes 2, 3, and 4, you're going to draw a ray. And again, the length of the ray does not matter when we're drawing angles, okay? So just draw a ray. Label the endpoint A because we're recreating the exact same angle. So a ray in all 4 boxes. Okay, so we need to recreate this angle in all 4 boxes. So there's something I've got to do to A to do that. Remember what that was? Good. Draw an arc so it goes through both sides. So we put our point on the vertex. Pencil, just choose whatever opening you want, okay? And just swing so the arc goes through the 2 sides. Okay, so now we're going to go to the rays that we have in boxes 2, 3, and 4, and we need to make that same arc, but we're going to overemphasize it just so it's bigger than what the original is, because we haven't made the other side yet. So I'm going to overemphasize that arc, okay, on boxes 2, 3, and 4, so that we can remake that angle. Okay, So I need to, the last step to remake those angles is to make the other side, the other ray. So there's something I need to go back and do on the original to know where that other side is going to be at. Do you remember what that was? Yes?
Or when you're, open your thing to the measure of the two arc crosses.
Right. Where the arc crosses the two sides. Okay, so we're going to measure it with my pencil note. Okay, so I'm going to measure from side to side where the arc crossed through the two rays. Okay, then we need to remember, where is my pencil at right now? It's not at the vertex, it's where the arc crosses the rays. So when I go to my ray, I don't want to put it at the vertex or the endpoint. I want to go to where the arc crosses the rays. So with that opening, I'm going to where the arc crosses the ray, and I swing so it intersects that other overemphasized arc that I already have. Okay? And do that in boxes 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so now we can draw the other side of our angle, just line it up to the vertex and where the intersection point is at. Okay, now this was not what this part was about, but we needed to have the exact same angle in all four, so you actually practice what you had on your second worksheet. Okay, so they should all look very, very close to being the same, if not exact, assuming your compass is moving. Okay, so now we're actually going to bisecting these angles. Okay, so in box 1 it says draw an angle and label it as angle A, so we did that. You're going to put the point on the vertex A and draw an arc that intersects the sides of angle A, which we did that. Okay, so we need that opening to do what we're going to do in the other boxes. Okay, so we're going to go and make sure that our compass is set at where that arc was at, because we're actually doing the bisecting part, not the creating the angle part. So go back and check to see what that, from the vertex to where your arc is at, what that measurement was. Okay, we got it? Okay, so going to box 2, it says label where the arcs intersect the sides as B and C. Okay, so we're going to, and repeat that in boxes 3 and 4. So we're in box 2, labeling it, doesn't matter which one's which, just B and C. And put that in boxes 3 and 4. Okay, it says with that same compass setting, now you're going to put your point, so the point of the compass, on B, and you're going to swing to make an arc on the inside or interior of the angle. Okay, so that opening that we had it at, where we made that arc, okay, I'm going to move the point to where the point is on B, and I'm swinging to make an arc on the interior of that angle. So I put the point on B, and I swing to make an arc on the interior of the angle. And repeat that in boxes 3 and 4. Okay. Box 3, it says now repeat what you did in step 2, what we did with B, but now we're going to put it on C and do the same thing. Okay, and make an arc on the inside of the angle so that the two arcs intersect on the inside of the angle. So what we did to B when we swung to make an arc, okay, now we're going to go to C and swing so that that arc intersects the other arc that we've already made. Okay?
You want to do that in box 4?
Yeah, and in box 4. Yep, it says repeat in box 4. Okay, so box 4 says now place a straight edge on the vertex and line it up. Oh, I forgot. So sorry. Over here it said to label it as D. Sorry, forgot that. So the intersection point was D. It was X before, but I'm like, it looks like an X already, so I changed it. That's why it was crossed off. So label that intersection as D in boxes 3 and 4. But in box 4, you're going to use your straight edge, and you're going to line it up with A and D, and you're going to draw a ray AB. Okay, what did ray AD do to angle BAC? What did ray AD do to angle BAC? Cut it in half, right? So that's your vocab word. Another vocab word that you had was bisector. Bisector means to split something in half. Okay, you bisect it, you split it in half. Okay, so we're going to write our statements. So it's a ray because it's a side of an angle. So ray AD is the angle bisector of angle BAC. Why do I have to list 3 letters?
Which is more than one.
Okay, good. You can't just say angle A, okay, because there's more. Which one are you talking about now? I don't know which one. So BAC. So it bisected the big angle, BAC. And by doing that, it did what to the 2 smaller angles? Made them what? Congruent. Okay, so we're going to write our 2 statements. Okay, so it's angle BAD is congruent to which one? DAC. Okay, so if I know that they're congruent, then I also know that they are what to each other? Equal. But the notation for equal means I have to write an M in front of it. So the measurement of angle BAD is equal to the measurement of angle DAC. Okay, so when we do angle bisectors, the constructions are worth 5 points, but the statement on the bisector one's going to be worth more. Like you're going to tell me, what is it that's an angle bisector? It's a ray because it's a side. Okay, which one did it bisect? And then writing your congruence and equivalence statement. Okay? Okay, blank sheet. All I want you to do is draw an angle on there. Okay, and then switch with somebody. We're not going to write statement. We're just going to try to recreate an angle and do the angle bisector by the time the bell rings. So then we're all cut up. Okay, everybody switch. Okay, so you're going to recreate their angle first. So the first thing is to draw a ray. Okay, so draw a ray. Okay, then we go to their angle and make an arc. So it goes through the 2 sides of their angle. Does not matter the opening at this point. Okay, now I need to do that same thing to my ray. So I'm going to go to the end point of my ray, and I'm going to overemphasize that arc. Okay, we good? Okay, I need to make the other side of that angle. Okay, so I'm going to go to where what? Where the arcs cross the 2 things. Okay, so I'm going to go to where the arcs cross the 2 sides, or the 2 rays. Okay, and then I just remember, okay, where am I at on their angle? I need to go to my ray in that same spot. So I'm not going to go to the vertex. I'm going to go to where my arc crosses my ray, right? Okay, and then I'm going to swing to make an arc so it crosses the other arc that I already have there. Okay, so I just recreated their angle. So the last thing you're doing is you're going to bisect both of them now. Okay, and when we bisect one, we're bisecting the other one because they're the same angle. Okay, so to do that, your very first step was to get it back to the measurement that you had for the arc that you made where it went through the two sides. And it should be the same in both angles, so you don't have to remeasure it. Okay, we're going to take that opening. Okay, and we're going to put our point not at the vertex, but we're going to go to where it crosses at the two spots. So watch me, and then you can do it on both of your angles. So that opening that I've got, I'm going to go to where it crossed, and I swing on the inside. And I go to the other side of the arc and the ray and swing on the inside. Okay, so I'm going to do it again on this one, because the opening is the same on both. Okay, I go to where the arc crosses, and I swing on the inside. And I go to the other spot where the arc crosses the side, and I swing on the inside. Okay, so then you can connect where they cross and the vertex to make the angle bisect. And again, we're not going to write the statements for these. We're just practicing recreating an angle and angle bisect. Okay, and then you can hand it back to them when you're done. Okay, everybody see how important it is to bring your compass and protractor daily? Like, this is all we're doing. So if you don't have one, you better either get to the office or store. We've been warning you for a while now. Okay. Now, if one breaks in the meantime, just come talk to me. You can borrow mine and give mine back and vice versa. But try to either get one from somebody in another class to borrow in between classes. Okay? Because you'll work on these in class. Okay? Unless for some reason you're gone, then you'll have to make it up. But okay, tuck it away, bring it tomorrow. Obviously no homework. I know, you're sad.